What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Blockbuster Bob here, and in today's video, we're going to dive into the right guard position as spring has officially sprung. Winter is behind us. We got the draft coming in a couple weeks. But one thing that has gone on with the spring cleaning inside our houses and apartments and wherever we're living is the spring cleaning at the right guard position for the New York Giants. And in today's video, I want to spend some time going into some detail about all of the players currently at the right guard position for the Giants and the value that they currently bring to this roster as we head into the next season. And maybe if there's some names upcoming in this draft where the Giants might try and draft someone at this position, which I probably think is the option. But let's talk about who they currently have. So, first on the list coming back after last season is John Runyon Jr. He has 49 career starts. And that was his, I think, second year on the Giants after his time in Green Bay. And honestly, I understand why the Giants had to sign him to beef up the offensive line, and I just don't think he's been that great in what he's been paid. And sometimes between him and John Michael for these plays over the last few years, I look at them kind of like as Tweedledee and Tweedledum in terms of like not being able to pick up basic internal defensive rotations and fronts and stunts along those lines. So I don't want to get too negative today, but this video is going to be talking about who can play this position at right guard or just any of the guard positions. So, but with Runyon and what they're being paid, what he's being paid, and they didn't cut him this offseason before free agency period, he will be starting as a team's left guard next to Andrew Thomas. Next up is Aaron Stinney, who has 15 career starts. We've seen him play a little bit last year, but most of his starts came on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2020-2021 stretch. Also on the team at guard on the depth chart is Reed Holsky. It seemed like he was a practice squad guy last year for the G-Men. I really don't know much about him. I think he went to Miami, Ohio, and all these guys are kind of like, when they're coming out of college now, they're like 25. The other guy also on this list, I think Jake Kubis, but more recently, someone who was signed from the Ravens, who John Harbaugh has familiarity with, was Daniel Falele. I just keep calling him Falafel, and I feel like I'm slowly turning into a boomer, like my dad or something, where I just can't pronounce people's names. So Daniel Falafel had 9 career starts for the Baltimore Ravens, and it seems to be like, I don't want to shit on him too much, right? And I don't want to be negative, but the second we signed this guy, it came flooding into on X or Twitter or whatever, just highlight reels of this guy kind of sucking, and he looks like a Samoan version of Evan Neal, and I don't think this is someone who can be really relied upon at this position at right guard, even though according to the depth charts, and guys, I know we have the draft ahead of us. I'm not saying that having this guy's depth is not a bad thing. I just don't think he should be slotted in to start at right guard, especially when you're looking at the low lights and people criticizing him over the seasons. And listen, maybe he can play if he was able to play with Lamar Jackson, even though Lamar Jackson got beaten up and was knocked out of some games last season and was finally hurt for the first time in his career, really. But obviously, we don't want that to happen with Jackson Dart because, he's not afraid to shy away from contact, but he does have that elusive escapability similar to Lamar Jackson. But Falele is, 6'8"? Like, he is a freak specimen, similar to Evan Neal, who the Giants also re-signed, I don't even know if he suited up last season. So between those two guys, you're looking at massive, just absolute giant human beings there who, by all means, have the pedigree for what some of the best offensive tackles in the game have had, right? But they're sticking them at guard at 6'8". So we'll see if it works or not. Again, this is a position that is currently open. And then the last one was someone recently re-signed named Lucas Patrick, who I didn't know too much about, and then was looking at his background. He has been in the league for 9 years. He's been on 4 different teams: Green Bay, Chicago, New Orleans, and Cincinnati, and he started 65 games. So I don't know if he's really good or not. I haven't done the research into that, but someone else and having depth on this offensive line, I think, is helpful because we've seen in years past when guys get hurt or go down, there's no one else that could step in and it turns into an unmitigated disaster in that regard. So having some solid depth, I think, is good. But I don't think the answer to who should be the starting right guard going into the 2026 season, is currently on this team. And that could come through a multitude of different ways in the draft. Let me just, before we talk about the draft, I think the Giants just should have. Let me say this loud and clear: the Giants should have brought back Greg Van Roten, even though he is getting towards the twilight of his career. He is priced that way as well, so you wouldn't be overpaying with him. He has the familiarity with the offensive line and a great rapport next to Jermaine Illuminor. So I think it would have been an absolute no-brainer to bring Greg Van Roten back. Maybe they do if the draft doesn't go their way and they don't take a guard in the second round, which it's certainly a possibility that they may. But and just to round out the conversation on why Greg Van Roten, he had the success next to Jermaine Illuminor, and he's also is one of the few starters the last 2 seasons to play in every single game. So that durability, even at his age, is something, and adding the leadership component to it on an offense, a young offense, it doesn't really have that yet, and people are waiting to step up. You need those old dogs, old cats in the office, especially on the offensive line, that can be vocal leaders. And you saw them before games last season, doing a lot of great speeches and being not just a voice, but a presence and someone I think the younger guys looked up to because he's done it for so long. And so I'll always have a deep respect for that guy because I'm 37. My body feels like shit every day. I can't even imagine what he feels like at this point. So even if he doesn't come back to the Giants, I hope he could have, as long as his body could go for and a couple stints because he's been durable at this point in his age where we have guys like John Michael don't even make it through full season. Andrew Thomas is hurt half the time. Jermaine Illuminor last year also hurt a bunch. But again, I told you I was going to be negative here. And then coming up to this draft currently coming up, I don't think, obviously, at 5 overall, you're not going to draft a guard. So then that leaves us at 37 overall, where there is someone that I spoke about recently, Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon, who checks a lot of boxes for me. Again, I do think offensive line is probably at this point in time in the draft specifically, and guys coming out of college, the least pro-ready position, right? Guys need a lot of time to ramp up. And is that worth taking someone who might not be ready on day one when you're trying to build around Jackson Dart and he's a young quarterback? And if he fails, there better be a good option there. And if it's Evan Neal or Falele, do you guys feel good about that? Because I don't know if I do. If they don't draft anyone, and there was also a guy from Texas A&M, go Aggies. I think his name's Chad Bizanitis, local Jersey guy, or Chase Bizanitis. Sorry, I might be butchering his name again. Turning into a boomer here. Who seemed to have good tape, quick feet, good hands. Maybe the Giants, they brought him in for one of the pro days, so maybe that's someone else that could be at the guard position at 37 overall. Or maybe one of these guys falls and they take him in the 4th. Again, reminder, Giants would have a 3rd round pick. So let me know what you guys think about the right guard position, because this is going to be a who's who, and the clock is ticking up to the draft. And I don't think the full-time starter is currently on this team. At least I hope not. Let me know what you guys think. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to, from a content perspective, I'm going to see what else I could do. I'm going to be on the road a little bit this week and next week, but I'm definitely going to be live for the draft. So stay tuned. If you guys want to see someone who probably won't have as many followers as some of the big dudes and you want to interact with me, I'm going to be making it as conversational as possible, making it very chat centric. So let's have fun with it. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll chat soon.